Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sorting Thoughts podcast. This is your host, Florin. I hope you guys are doing really well. This week, we are going to be talking about music. And I've had this idea from like a trend on TikTok that was like, you can only listen to 10 albums for the rest of your life. And then you put like pictures of them. So I thought I would talk about those and why now, because that trend was like a little while ago now. Now, these days, a lot of artists that I love have been teasing music. We officially know now that Olivia Rodrigo is putting a new album out on June 12th. And my mother, also known as Ariana Grande, has also been teasing lots of eights. She just put out like this afternoon a post on Instagram that was her and back in the studio. So I was like, okay, let's do music this week. It's been a while since I've talked about music, and I'll probably review these two albums later in the future. So if you're interested in knowing which are my 10 albums that I would only listen to for the rest of my life, then let's get into it. We are going to start off with my favorite album of all time, and that album is Sweetener by none other than Ariana Grande. This album literally changed the trajectory of my life for the better. It is my comfort, my joy, my sadness, my nostalgia, my fears, my manifestations. Like, it's everything packed in 15 tracks. This body of work came out on August 18th, 2018, and I've never been the same ever since. Like, it has helped me through so many phases of my life. And also, that album came out at a time where I was really alone, and this album really felt like a hug from Ariana. And like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna get through this. I love you. Let me give you a hug. Everything's gonna be all right. Do you know what I mean? The first single, though, was, I think, the best comeback single in pop culture that ever happened, besides Look What You Made Me Do by Taylor Swift, but this is not what we're talking about now. The first single was No Tears Left to Cry. Its second single was The Light Is Coming. The third one was God Is a Woman. And then the fourth and final single was Breathe In. So Ariana went on Jimmy Fallon and described this album, Sweetener. And she said that it was like adding sweetness to one's life and that it sort of was like a hug. So that's why I feel like this album really came out at the right time for me and literally felt like a hug after like listening to the whole body of work. Because when she said that, she was making the promotion of it and had just revealed that it was called Sweetener. And we only had heard No Tears Left to Cry. So when I first listened to the album, it really was like that. It was like a musical hug. And I love it so much. Like, it truly is a hug. Like, I don't know. It's just, I fuck with this album so much. I love it so much. And, you know, it's also like a fourth album. And if you didn't know that, there's a saying in pop culture music that sort of says that fourth albums don't do necessarily very well commercially, because it is usually at a time where artists have done 3 albums and they want to sort of experiment their sound. And when they experiment and when the listeners don't necessarily like this new sound and just like prefer the old sound. It doesn't do great commercially, but this fourth album, I feel like broke the curse, at least in my opinion. Like, I fuck with it so much. Like, REM, the song REM is my alarm music. So I literally wake up with like this cute sound and last night, boy, I met you. And that's usually when I stop the alarm, but it's just so soothing and like you can start your day right with this song. It's just like there's so many good songs on that album, and we're going to talk a little bit about those a little bit later. But yeah, I don't know. Like every time I listen to it, I feel like I'm laying on a cloud, a big warm cloud, and or just like it also feels like I'm wrapped up in like a huge ass fluffy blanket, and it's just like so comforting. And also, the vocal work on this album is absolutely incredible. The harmonies from the No Tears Left to Cry music video are a blessing to my ears, and I need them in my body. I need to hear them like 24/7. They're so good. I feel like I'm entering heaven. This is what heaven sounds like to me. Yeah, which by the way is like sort of the only negative thing that I have to say about this album is that in the streaming platform, like on streaming platforms and on the physical copies, we do not have that intro. That intro is only present on YouTube in the music video, and that is a crime. But God bless me, I heard those harmonies live at the Sweetener World Tour. She incorporated them in the show before singing No Tears Left to Cry. So thank God. But experiencing those live, gorgeous. Like, I don't think I could ever experience that moment ever again, except if she adds them again at the Eternal Sunshine World Tour, which I hope she does, by the way. But it also wouldn't feel right in a way, because it's like, it's not Sweetener. It's the Eternal Sunshine Tour. But whatever. I'm rambling. But yeah, love those. And it's very unfortunate for my ears that I can't listen to them 24/7, because when I'm listening to music, I'm not going on YouTube. There used to be a time like that where the only option was to go on YouTube, because Spotify, Apple Music, like all that stuff didn't really exist, or you had to pay for a song and I didn't have a credit card or like whatever. So it was like back in the day, like I'm talking like 2010, 2009, 2010. Like that's a long time ago. It was a very long time ago. But yeah, it's very unfortunate that we do not have those on like either physical copy or on streaming platforms. I would love them to be added on those. So Ariana, if you ever hear me like in a dream or whatever, please, I'm begging you, add those to the song. I would really appreciate it. But talking about harmonies, this album won Best Pop Vocal Album at the Grammys, and that was Ariana's first Grammy, and also one of the very few times that I've agreed with a body of work that won a Grammy. Because if you didn't know, Grammys are rigged, in my opinion. Like, I know everybody has their favorites and like is rooting for their favorites, but I'm talking like in a very like mindful, opinionated way. I think like some albums deserved to win a Grammy way more than others, and that's okay. That's just my opinion. But yeah. Yeah, whatever. Sweetener like I said, is Ariana's fourth studio album, and it came out right after the events of Manchester back in 2017. So this body of work was very anticipated, if you know what I mean. Like, we wanted to know what sort of songs would be on this album, if it would be sad, if she would be talking about mental health, if she would be talking about the attack and all that stuff. And she did. She talked about it. Well, she talked about having PTSD and like anxiety and suffering from it with the song Breathe In. She doesn't exactly mention Manchester, but there's this song at the end called Get Well Soon, and it's 5 minutes and 22 seconds, which corresponds to the date of the attack, May 22nd. And I thought that that was like a very beautiful homage without really entering and like saying too much about her trauma, which in some ways, in every way, actually has to stay like personal. um, Even though she's talked about it a few times, I feel like that song is still very private, and I sort of love that she did that and like kept that to herself. Because also that album, what was really surprising about that album is that it's full of joy, actually. And I think a lot of people anticipated this album to be very sad, and it wasn't. There was a few, I don't know if they're like automatically sad, but their instrumental is leaning more towards like sad chords and stuff like that, like chord progression and stuff, but it's not sad. It's not sad. It's pretty joyful, and she made those songs with Pharrell Williams instead of Max Martin compared to Dangerous Woman or My Everything. And if you didn't know, Max Martin is a very, very, very famous name in the industry. He produced numerous bops like Into You, I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys, the entire Reputation album, lots of 1989 bops by Taylor Swift, Baby One More Time also by Britney Spears, That's the Way It Is by Celine Dion, I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, and so on. Like, that guy is a genius, and if you look into it, like, I didn't know all of these songs were made by Max Martin, besides Reputation and some of 1989. Like, I didn't know he had produced so much radio hits. Like, it's crazy because they all sound so different. And the fact that he's capable of producing so many different songs from so many different eras, it's like, gosh, I can only but admire the work. You know what I mean? But she did work with him again on Eternal Sunshine, her latest album, and it's fabulous. But I love that she changed producers and worked with Pharrell. I feel like it really helped Ariana find her pop music sound with R&B influences. And, you know, it was a different and new sound and like positive and like sort of like sunny, sunshine, all of those like the colors of the album are bright, like yellow, beige, orange, those type of colors. It's a very hopeful album, I feel like. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. It's because it's like just so very hopeful and joyful. And like whenever you're feeling down, you can just listen to it and it'll immediately lift up my spirit. And, you know, a part of it being so joyful is its music influences. So you have pop music, of course, but it's more like a minimalist, off-kilter, funk influenced production. And like you can feel the funk. Like you can feel that, you know, there's part of the funk is that, you know, it makes you want to move, it makes you dance, makes you like happy and stuff. So, and like I loved the contrast of that production with those lyrics talking about the process of healing, mental health, you know, all like those are very serious subjects, but it's like I just love the contrast between like the serious subject and the funky production. It's just so good. It's like whenever you expect a song to be like super sad, it's just like very sad lyrics, but like a very happy, funky production where you shake ass and you cry at the same time. I just love those songs, you know? And I feel like this album challenged expectations, and that's why it stood out the most, and why 90% of it is my favorite. It's like so artistically significant and different from what she had made before. And compared to her previous masterpiece of an album called Dangerous Woman, Sweetener is uneasy. It's airy, it's unconventional. You have tracks like the intro called Raindrops. You also have the song Sweetener, the title track, or even Successful, and even the collaborations like Blazed with Pharrell and Borderline featuring Missy Elliott. They're all so different, but they complement each other so much. And like I've said, after the unfortunate events at her Manchester concert, I feel like, yeah, everybody was expecting like a sad and heartbreaking record, but it's so far from it. Like it's the total opposite. And she sort of like reclaims her joy, her optimism. She focused on healing, and she really goes deep without ever going into details, but she goes deep enough that you can actually understand and identify if you've ever gone through so much trauma. And that's why it makes this album so genuine, and why it spoke to so many people, why it worked so much. It focuses on the happy, optimistic part of one's person's life after dealing with so much heavy trauma. It gave optimism to people and shared to the world that there is indeed light at the end of the tunnel, that there are brighter days ahead. And she focuses a lot on her mental health with tracks like Get Well Soon, like I've said, Breathe In. And Breathe In is literally about what it feels like to have a panic/anxiety attack. And I don't know, the honest and nuanced portrayal of healing your mental health really helped normalize it and helped conversations around the topic in the mainstream pop music, because people weren't necessarily talking about it. And vocally, Ariana really showed how she can use her voice as an independent instrument. She layered, she chopped, she whispered, she harmonized into the production. She turned her vocals into texture and rhythm. And if I can advise you to listen to God is a Woman and Get Well Soon and REM without the main vocal, just the back vocals of the track, it's, yeah, literally like you've entered heaven. It's just so good. It's magnificent. And I think there was one interview where she said that, you know, they use Pro Tools to produce music, to record on it, like whatever. This is what artists use in studios. They use the app Pro Tools. And there's like so many tracks on Pro Tools where you can just like record and stuff. And Ariana literally emptied and used all the infinite possible tracks that are available on Pro Tools. And that is a lot. That is so much tracks. Like, I don't know the exact number of tracks that you can have on Pro Tools, but it's a lot. So just so you can sort of like picture how many tracks she used to texture and harmonize her vocals, a lot, so fucking much. So it made sense that she won Pop Vocal Album of the Year. This album really pushed vocal production to the forefront of how much work vocally can be done in a body of work like Sweetener. It really emphasized Ariana as a stable artist in the industry. It helped people take her seriously in a way, even though, like, personally, I had already taken her seriously before. But yeah, it just showed that, you know, she's like multi-talented and can do like so many stuff. And that she can like experiment with her sound, that it's not always the same thing, that it's not just singles, that it's, yeah, that is, she's just so much more than just a hit making artist, if that makes sense. I love Sweetener so much. It also aged incredibly well. It's not an album that just came out in like 2018. It's an all-time album. Like, there is so many albums that, you know, exactly at what time they came out and they're stuck in that time, in that sound. But with Sweetener, it's just like, yeah, it's an all-time album. Now we're going to talk about my favorites on this album, and there are, in no particular order, Good Night and Go, which is like a cover of Imogen Heap's Good Night and Go, parts of it. REM, of course, Get Well Soon, and Breathe In. But right now I'm also thinking about No Tears Left to Cry, Successful, Sweetener, like the whole fucking album. But if I had to choose, those would be the four. Like, I know that Good Night and Go is my fucking song. Like, I need that song to be injected in my veins and to have that song in my body every day, 24/7. Yeah, love, love, love that song. I don't know, it just sonically was mine immediately. At like the first time I listened to it, I was like, yeah, this song is mine. Like, that's totally my favorite of the album. And I'm so sad I didn't get to hear it live at the Sweetener World Tour. Instead, I got only one, but I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it because she had changed a bit of the set list during the tour. She just couldn't sing it anymore live. It was too heartbreaking for her. It referenced Mac Miller, her ex-boyfriend, a rapper, an ex-artist that passed away in 2018, a few months after she released this album. And during the tour, she was singing this like Under the Moon. And I just loved the outfit, of course, loved the song, and it would have been incredible to hear it live. But she also had like the Wally characters in the background, sort of like making an appearance, come back and go. And that was a thing that they both had, and we knew about it. And it's just like, it was a very beautiful homage. And yeah, I wish I had heard it live, but it's okay. I have a live version of it on the Sweetener World Tour live album. So I'm very content with that and all the videos that I can watch of this performance. I just also think that I would have never survived that live performance because I just didn't survive the concert. Like, in itself, like, I just didn't survive the concert. So I think I would have never gotten up from that performance, like, after it. It was just so good. I love that song. That song has my whole heart. But yeah, Sweetener overall is a masterpiece because Ariana transformed her trauma into art without ever going too much into details and exploring too much her pain. She redefined what happiness can sound like in pop music. She took creative risks that reshaped her artistry and her sound and never aimed to be perfect. It was just honest, raw, and that's what makes this album so timeless. And this is also why it's my favorite album of hers and one I could never, ever live without. And yeah, I just love it so much. And I can't wait to experience some of those songs again live at the Eternal Sunshine Tour. It's just so good. That is a time of my life that I am so grateful for, that, I'm living at the same time as Ariana Grande, because wow, she just did so much for me with her, like her music did so much. Like I know it can sound weird to some people, and I know some people see it in a very weird way. How some people are like very attached to their favorite artists, and for me, with Ariana and Taylor, just hearing them and their music, describing their experiences and just being able to identify to those and to see how far they've come from that experience, and to just know that I'm going to be okay too, that I'm not the only one feeling like that. It makes you like, it gives you comfort. It gives you so much comfort. And with everything that these two women have gone through, I don't think I could ever have like better examples to look up to. Like, I look up to these two women so much. They've made their life public. They're always scrutinized, they're always criticized, and to see how they navigate it with so much grace and elegance, and it's just so, I'm just in awe of these two women. I'm just in awe. But anyways, maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more in details in a future episode. Maybe, I don't know. Tell me if you would ever be interested in that. But for now, let's move on and go with my second favorite album of all time that I don't think I could ever live without. And that album is Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. I promise she's not the only one in here. She has 7 albums, so she could take 7 spots, but no. I've tried to be diverse in my choices. So, yeah, Eternal Sunshine is her latest work. It came out March 8th, 2024. This album was also produced by Max Martin, like her previous work, and 2 other collaborators, and I can't say their last name. I'm so sorry, so I'll just name their names. They're called Ilya and Oscar. I am not butchering those last names. I'm so sorry. But I can't say them. I've tried. This is a pop with R&B influenced record. The album has 13 tracks, and with the deluxe, we have 19 tracks. The deluxe came out on March 28th, 2025, a little bit more than a year after the release of the original album. The first single was Yes and. The second one was We Can't Be Friends. And the third one was The Boy Is Mine. This album was highly inspired by the film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind by Michael Gordy, starring Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet, and it came out in 2004. Ariana used the philosophy of this film, which was to forget memories related to a loved one after they're out of one's life, because it's easier to forget than to live with the aching memories, and they're hurting so much that the only thing they can think about is to erase those memories, which is kind of really sad, to be honest. It's a very beautiful and sad film. It's beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And I feel like it was a very beautiful concept album because she questions that philosophy while also using it. She also used the aesthetic of the film. Kate Winslet's character has red hair when she has forgotten about her ex-boyfriend, and she has blue hair when they fell in love. And Ariana used the red for the album. Like, for example, the cover is highly red influenced, and the colors of the vinyls are all red, no exception. And she used blue for the deluxe. And she used two different colors for the deluxe vinyls. There's one white and one is blue. And I chose to buy the blue one because, I don't know, I loved that I had, when she chose to like erase her memories, red vinyl, and when she knows them, blue vinyl. So yeah, I thought that that was really genius. Kind of like Sweetener, Ariana talks about deep topics in this album. Every track focuses on love, memory loss, and self-redefinition. She's radically honest about how she felt without portraying herself as the victim, if that makes sense. She's very self-aware, and it's one of the album's greatest strengths, in my opinion. In the tracks like Bye, We Can't Be Friends, Don't Want to Break Up Again, she acknowledges emotional contradictions, guilt, and personal responsibility. So she's really, really, really taking accountability without also erasing what she felt or how she experienced the situation, but she also didn't blame the other half entirely. And so it's very mature. It's a very mature reaction. Not everyone's reaction would have been that one. So yeah, it's very rare to have this nuanced and that kind of duality in a breakup album, specifically mainstream pop albums. The production in this album is very clean, intimate, and almost restrained, I feel like. It leaves space for breath, reflection, and emotional weight. You have silence, repetitions, soft synth echoes, like the idea of a memory dissolving or looping. It definitely reinforces the album sonically. And one I specifically think about is the bridge in the title track, Eternal Sunshine. Won't break, can't shake this fate. Rewind, deep breath, tight chest, life, death, rewind. And she repeats that, and there's also echoes of it, so it goes like, won't break, can't shake. But it's like so beautifully done, like I've just done it. It's like horrible and horrendous, but I promise you hers is like 1,000 times more beautiful, because it's also a part that she highly harmonized. So like the echoes are harmonies. It's so beautiful. So vocally in this record, Ariana has evolved because she worked on it during the SAG actor strike, if I remember well, in 2023. But she was also filming Wicked at the time. And so she worked on it at a time where we never ever thought that she would put out an album. Like, I wasn't expecting an album before at least 2026. So this year. Like, also at the earliest. Because she also had mentioned before that she was not focusing on making new music, and that she wouldn't, at least before both Wicked films are out and when the Wicked era was done. So if you give her time to work on it, yeah, I wasn't expecting it at least until late 2026, which is crazy because right now she's teasing an 8th album. So it's like we're getting 2 albums before I even expected it. I'm so fucking grateful. Like, I love it so much and I cannot wait for it. But anyways, back to Eternal Sunshine. She had to change her singing voice for the part of Glinda, and I loved that she used those techniques in her songs in Eternal Sunshine. Her vocals are more controlled, conversational, and emotionally precise. She's really focusing on storytelling instead of showcasing her vocal abilities. Don't get me wrong. I love her showing off her vocal abilities, but this was just it was a different way of doing it, and I love it so much. And Ariana released this album at a time where there was a lot of public scrutiny, and she took back that narrative with this album, and she really said, I don't fucking owe you anything. I'll say what I want, when I want, and how I want, and that will be all you'll get. Whether you're happy or not, I don't fucking care. So yes, Queen, I love this attitude so much. And it's not even attitude, it's just like common sense. But yeah, she really said a big fuck you to the gossip magazines that were talking trash behind her back. Well, no. Well, in front of her. Just to the public and being like, you want to write trash about me? I'm going to say one thing. And she released this whole album, which is another reason why I love it so much. She closes the album with Ordinary Thing, featuring her Nona and her very wise advice, a message of emotional clarity for when to know you found the one in a partner, to never go to bed angry without a goodnight kiss, even though there's tension. So thank you, Nona, for that advice. I take it very seriously and I always remember it. So thank you, Ariana, for including Nona. I think that was like a very, very important advice, specifically in our dating world where it's like, it's so different from back then. And I feel like it's harder to find your person because of like, dating habits now. And at the beginning with the intro, she's like questioning because Ariana thought that she had found her person and turns out it was not. And so how do you know? Truly, I think it's a question that we all ask ourselves. It's like, how do you know that that person's the one? How do you know? And I feel like that's also a question that Taylor Swift has asked herself a lot. And I feel like that is also like a very asked question in pop music, and everyone that's writing about love is like, how do you know he's the one or she's the one or they're the one? But anyways, I feel like it closes the album beautifully. It helps the album resonate with one person even long after you are done listening to it. Specifically, like I've said with intro, really asking that question and having that train of thoughts and, thinking that you had the one, but then you realize you don't. And so it's kind of like hunting thoughts and there's hurt there. You want to forget about it and just like ignore the problem if there's one and just like move on to the next person. But then you don't want to open your heart too much, because if you do, then you're giving that person the possibility to hurt you, and you don't want to waste your time anymore too. It's like, it's also hard because you have to do it all over again. The getting to know each other, the sort of like dating at the beginning, it's all just like very tiring. And this album is really leaning towards the hopeful side of things, where you learn from the experience. Like, I have people around me right now that are just like done from a 3-year relationship, and there's sort of that mental state where it's like, I just lost 3 fucking years of my life. And I know you don't see it now, but you've just learned so much from that relationship, and you're going to realize it soon. It's just right now you're in that mental state and that grief of like in the angry face, and it's totally understandable. And Ariana had already talked about this in her Thank You Next song, where she's thanking her past partners and her past relationships for making her learn so much about herself and about people and what she wants and what she doesn't want. So yeah, those things are hard, but it's like an event. Like you can't stop that from happening. And to me, that's one of the album's greatest strength. Is like you never stop learning. We know it's not easy, but there are indeed brighter days ahead and you're going to be fine. It's okay if you've been put through this experience is because you're going to learn something from this. You're going to grow from it and you're going to be a better person and a better version of yourself because of it. So, yeah, I feel like it gave a lot of people strength mentally by listening to this album and also like seeing someone that, it happens that you thought this person was the one and turns out it's not, and that you had to sadly say goodbye to that person or separate yourself from that person. And that's why I loved this album so much. It also arrived at a time when I needed it too, sort of like Sweetener, even though I wasn't going through like any heartbreaks. But I feel like you can resonate with it with just your personal lives and your relationships, like friendships mostly, or just like work relationships, like all that stuff, like any type of relationship, really. And hearing Ariana's voice and hearing her storytelling and her experiences, just like Sweetener, it was a hug, it was a comfort. It was like, I've gone through this shit, but now I'm fine. And I can look back on it and say that I've learned from it. And even though she's talking about heartbreak, you can easily sort of identify this to like any aspects of your life. Because there's not only heartbreak in relationships, in romantic relationships. So, yeah, I feel like my fave artists always drop an album whenever I need it. Like Taylor dropped The Tortured Poets Department when I needed it. Ariana did the same with Eternal Sunshine, with Sweetener, and she's going to be doing the same with her future album. It's just crazy. Like somehow I always have an emotional string with those albums that are my favorites. It's crazy. And also, this album came out at a time where I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And one of the things that I did was that I almost stopped listening to music. And if you know me, like, you know that music is like a huge part of my life. It's a way for me to escape reality. It's a way for me to express my emotions, like all of the above. And so I wasn't listening to a lot of music. And this album came out and it lifted my spirits up. I met new people. I experienced new things. It literally gave me strength. Like, it's crazy how much an album can do musically for you, because I had the lucky experience to go to Ariana's release party in Paris, and I just met so many people that I occasionally see now at other concerts of other artists and that I try to talk to on social media. And it's just like, yeah, it brought these people and these new experiences in my life. It's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it. And in this album, my faves are We Can't Be Friends, I Wish I Hated You, Eternal Sunshine, Don't Want to Break Up Again, Bye. Just kind of like Sweetener. I know I have to make a choice So these would be it, but actually I would just like choose the entire album. It's just so good. And in the deluxe, my fave ones are definitely Warm, Twilight Zone, and Hempstead. These are my favorite in there. So, with everything that I've said before, I had to put this album in this top 10. Like, honestly, I haven't stopped listening to it since it came out, and I don't think I ever will. It's a masterpiece that transformed heartbreak into universal reflection. It prioritizes emotional intelligence over drama, and it proves that growth in pop music can be quiet, complex, and deeply fucking human. I love this album so much. It's such a great body of work. And yeah, I just can't stop listening to it all the time. I'm always listening to Eternal Sunshine somehow. It's just that good. It's that good. But we got to move on with our next one in this episode. I'm not moving on from Eternal Sunshine ever. It's always going to be there with me. But in this episode, we have to. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the third album. We're going to stay in pop music, but we'll completely switch with the influence this album was made with. We're going to go a bit more towards disco. And we're going to do that with, drum rolls, Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. This masterpiece of an album came out in 2020, March 27th to be exact. During the first quarantine, actually, I remember it so vividly because someone had leaked Dua's entire work and she did a live on Instagram, I believe, and that moment where she cried became a meme. And so, yeah, this I think it got leaked like a week before it was supposed to come out. This record is a dance disco pop with electronic music influences. The concept of future nostalgia was perfectly executed. The concept did exactly what was promised from like the first singles that we got, because there's like so many concepts of albums that, they do one specific thing for the first single and then another one for the second one, and then you hear the entire album and you have the entire album artwork and you're like, these are like two completely different things. Like Dua, I feel like sort of did that with Radical Optimism, her third album, the one that came out after Future Nostalgia. So we had this dancing music video with Houdini, which apparently wasn't the first idea for the music video, but Palestine was being struck by Israel, and so she was like, this is not the right time to put a music video that's going to be maybe violent, which was apparently the plan. And then she did Training Seasons, and the concept of it was also very different. And the only thing that sort of corresponded to the artwork of the album was the music video for Illusions. It was in a pool, like very bright, very dancey, very like holiday sort of. And the artwork was that. The artwork was, she's like swimming under the sea, very holiday-like, So the first two music videos didn't really make sense to me. But yeah, and with Future Nostalgia, she did it right from start to finish. Like every single music video resembled and fit the aesthetic of the album. And yeah, I think it's one of the greatest executions ever made in pop music in the years 2020 and even like before, like just like the 2000s, including the 2020s. It's just like an absolute masterpiece. It blends retro disco funk and synth pop with very modern productions. It reimagines the sound that holds nostalgia, really, which makes the album feel timeless rather than like stuck in a certain music era, making the listening sessions from years later too old, outdated. It has longevity, really. It really does. And having each track fitting that aesthetic without feeling repetitive is also like very rare. There really is a clarity of vision here in this album, and also like each tracks are hits. None feels like less of a bop than the other. It's just like bop after bop after bop after bop after bop, which is like one of the things that people were asking themselves when she was going to release Radical Optimism was like, how is she going to top Future Nostalgia? I don't think it was topped. I feel like it was equalized in a way. I do have more of a liking for Future Nostalgia because it's just like that album and, like Quarantine. It's like a whole thing. And not one track feels less impactful than the others in terms of like repetition, of instrumental, of lyrics, of production. They're all hits independently from each other. The hooks are phenomenal. The one from Physical and Hallucinate always send me somewhere else. I feel like I'm being like teleported and feel exactly what Dua wanted me to feel when listening to them. It's just like, if you feel teleported while just listening to those songs on your iPhone, on a record player or a CD, can you even imagine what it was like live at the Future Nostalgia tour? Like, I think one of the songs that teleports me the most is Electricity from Dua. That song live is just so good. And also Be the One. And Hallucinate, of course, like Physical, Don't Start Now. Yeah, it's just an incredible album to have had the chance to experience live. It just takes you somewhere else. It does. Like, I think you have to live it to be able to understand what I'm saying right now. Because, if you've ever had an artist that you've been listening to a lot, that you like a lot, and then you go to their concert and you listen to the album live, and then you hear those songs live, that the elements that they added to the live performances, it's all just, I don't think anything compares to that feeling. It was just so good. And also I was so close to her at the Future Nostalgia tour. Like, I was literally, the barrier, I was like right behind it, like second row. It was just phenomenal and so good. And I went with one of my best friends and we had the best time ever. Like, it was just something else. The themes of Future Nostalgia are self-assured joy, independence, and control. And she doesn't hold on to heartbreak and vulnerability. She's also not asking for any validation. She embodies it. It really helped defining pop femininity of like those early 2020s and even like late 2010s. What also works with this album is that it can be played anywhere and everywhere, like in your car, on the radio, at the store, in clubs, literally everywhere. And like you sort of have these artists that you're always going to hear in a store and you don't go like further than that. But then you have this album that, you can play anywhere, anytime, and it'll fit the vibe, no matter what. And it's just another reason why it makes this album so good. It's just so accessible. And it really came out at the right time. During COVID, people needed light and joy and escapism. And it gave us energy, and it really helped everyone during this time of like isolation, and no one could really escape. And so with that music, she just like I've said, you just listen to the album and you're just teleported somewhere nice, somewhere you enjoy. And I remember like during COVID, during quarantine, I don't know if it was during the first half of it or the second half of it, but she did a live performance, like Studio 512, I think it was, maybe not, or 5024, I don't remember, but she did a live, and we paid a ticket that was like $10, if I remember well. And so she kind of performed in the studio and live streamed it, and that was how I spent one of my nights, and it was so fun. I remember that so vividly. And I remember like my sister coming in the room and just dancing to songs that she knew, and then my brother also coming into the room. It was so fun. Future Nostalgia not only succeeded commercially, but it reinvented and led pop culture for a very long time. It reshaped pop music, it revived pop disco influenced albums, it had numerous strands on social medias, and all of these were created by the aesthetic of the era and the music, of course. And one of the things that Dua successfully did, because she knew all the eyes would be on her, was her dancing skills, and specifically her iconic sort of like dance move that she reappropriated herself, and now she's like a master at it. She really was like, I'm going to take the criticism from everyone from that specific performance and that dance, and I'm going to build from there and grow from there. She puts on amazing performances, dance performances, like during her shows. It's really one of a kind. And I feel like that's where Dua is very devoted to her art, like not only to her art, but also she wants to be a very full artist. She wants to be able to sing. She wants to be able to dance. She wants to be able to put on a performance that people are going to remember. And let me tell you, she did. She did. It works. In other words, Future Nostalgia is a phenomenal work of art, one that came out at the right time, which, sort of like led everyone to have their eyes on it when it was released. And also like pre-COVID, so like late 2019, she had already put out singles. So Don't Start Now was already out. Physical was already out, I believe. And then with the album, we got Levitating. And then later on, we had Love Again. So it's just like no one had shit to do. And the songs were good. They were catchy. They were joyful. And people were, doing things they weren't necessarily doing during quarantine. And some might have, found a new interest in pop music and tried to, listen to so many different artists. And that album came out. And it's just like, I think it was highly part of the phenomenon. And they took advantage of that. And I think, it's like one of the most successful pop albums in pop music of the 2020s. It's just so good. It's an album that, balances precision and pleasures. It revives the past without being trapped in it, with the disco influences. It delivered pop music that's confident, cohesive, and built to last. Like, I can listen to this album tomorrow and be like, oh, when did this came out? Like probably like 2 days ago? No, it came out 6 fucking years ago. Oh my God. This album came out 6 years ago? What the fuck? Oh yeah, she did put out a vinyl edition of the whole thing for the 5th anniversary of Future Nostalgia. What the heck? Oh, and I almost forgot to mention that she did a deluxe for this album called the Moonlight Edition. And then she put out a single with that one called We're Good. It's just like that whole album, the run of it. It was just so, so good. And we have yet to have a pop music era like this one. It was just so incredible, and I'm so glad that I witnessed this era. It's just like, if you'd ever want to put out an album, I feel like the inspiration behind the work would be to look at future nostalgia and be like, okay, what worked, what didn't, how did they do it, the consistency of it all, of the aesthetic, of the singles, of, the performances, all of it, the marketing behind it, like really the whole thing. I feel like this album in itself, in its whole, is such an inspiration for making a body of work that works from A to Z. Like literally, no skips, no error, no mistakes, nothing. It's so good. She also did collaborations with other artists, and we had a single and a clip for Prisoner featuring Miley Cyrus, of course. That one was just so good. Yeah, Dua went hard. She delivered in ways that certified her longevity in the music industry. It showed everyone what a true era was like, what working hard looked like, and that she was here to stay. It's just so good. I feel like my faves are Cool, Physical, and Boys Will Be Boys, and Good and Bad. But like all the previous ones that I've talked about, I feel like the whole fucking album is my favorite. All right, I feel like this is a good time to stop for this episode. I wanted to add 2 more albums in this episode, but I'm seeing that I'm already over an hour of recording before editing. So I'm just going to stop now, and I'll do 2 other parts in a few weeks, maybe next week. I don't know just yet. But thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, just taking the time to listen. That means the world to me. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Bye.